And welcome to another edition of the Backyard Sports Talk. I am Reid Jaco, and
And I'm Danny Jaco. Good evening, or good morning,
good
whatever it is.
good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you might be. We have some MLB news. We're going to talk a little bit about the trade deadline coming up, the MLB Midseason awards, who we think are the awards, the MVPs, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, stuff like that. We're going to talk a little bit about the training camps in the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming PLE for WWE, the card that it's showing that it's going to come up in Reid, Saudi Arabia. And we are going to look at some AEW storylines and get into some of that. So we are going to go ahead and get into some of what we've got planned for today. So starting us off into the MLB part of our section. I know we usually start with wrestling, but since I went ahead and put some of our MLB stuff first. So we're going to go ahead and start with some of our mid-season awards, and I'm going to list them off, and then we will talk a little bit about them. For the AL MVP, I have got to give it to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has had a rock-solid season, and he has done good things up in New York, and I look for him to continue that for the remainder of the season. And even that team is a fairly good team going forward. In 79 games, 294 at-bats, he has an average of 364.
Wow.
With 28 home runs.
He's doing well. There's no question.
No question about that. Last year, he had 58 of those home runs, and then in 2022, he hit 62, and then you go all the way back to his 2017 campaign, where he finished right behind Jose Altuve for the MVP.
I don't know
He
that
hit
Albert
52.
I don't know that Albert Pujols ever had a 364 average at midway through the season, did he? About 332, 328 usually where he was at.
I think that's probably about right.
I mean, nothing. What I'm saying, 364 is pretty impressive.
Oh, for sure. And then on the other side of things, for the National League side, I think we've got to give it to Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is coming off of a Tommy John surgery. He has primarily been a hitter the last couple of years. He made his back a couple of weeks ago. He pitched 2 innings. He did give up a run on 2 hits, but it's nice to see him back on the mound. But hitting wise, he has looked phenomenal once again. His numbers are outstanding once again through 78 games. He has an average of 289 and 27 home runs, 51 RBIs. And that is through 311 at bats.
So weird for a pitcher.
Well,
I like it. It's neat.
He's just not your prototypical pitcher though, and that's something that just not a lot of people are understanding, and through that is you got to think about last year he went for he was trying to get 50-50, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. He got that, and this year he hasn't been stealing as many bases. He only has 11 stolen bases, but I think he's settled with that. I think he's probably done with stealing bases for now. He's got that particular milestone. So I think he's just going back to being that hitter. But I think overall you've got to give that midseason MVP to Shohei Ohtani.
You think maybe that him having that Tommy John surgery, they didn't want him on the ground?
Well, he had that Tommy John surgery way back before he signed the contract with the Dodgers. and he created that milestone last year. So, I mean, I don't think it was that.
Okay.
I don't think it had that to do with that about that at all.
The thing with it is, he should come back on the mound full speed ahead next year, shouldn't he? I mean, usually first season of outings is a little different, I guess.
He should. I know that he pitched a couple of weeks ago, or I guess it was about 7 or 8 days ago. He pitched the 2 innings, and that was his first time on the mound since 2022.
Let's give the Colorado Rockies right now while we're live watching this game. They just scored again. It's 8-5.
Oh boy, let's sound the alarms and let's get ready for a major comeback. Then I don't know.
I mean, you're going to laugh when I say this, and I don't want to get off subject here, but I think they've picked their play up a little bit. I think they're a little better than they were. And I know that's not saying much, but they're a little better than they were.
I can slightly agree with that, because there at the beginning of the year, I mean, it was tough, and I mean, I don't think it had anything to do with their manager, poor Bud Black. He ended up getting the most of it, and he ended up getting fired. I don't think he had anything to do with the way they played at all. And I mean, you think about it, there is hardly any talent on that team whatsoever, and it's a travesty. But moving on real quickly to the American League Cy Young Award, our pick has to go to Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal, through his 16 starts, is 9-2. He has an ERA of 2.29 through 102 innings, and out of those 16 starts, he has struck out 125 batters, walked only 13 batters, and only give up 8 home runs and 26 earned runs.
Man, he's that. What'd you say? 8? How many walks? Gave up how many?
He's give up 8 home runs and 13 walks.
That's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. And out of his quality start, he has 9 quality starts, which is going 6 innings, 3 runs or less, and he has 9 of those.
He's got some support though around the team too, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Well, of course, I mean, this team. This is a heck of a team. And you'll see later on by who we give the Manager of the Year award to. The Midseason Manager of the Year award, but that Detroit team is a solid team.
Yes,
and he's going to get paid. And I'll be honest with you, Detroit is out of their mind if they don't try to work on some type of extension right now for Tarik. Mm-hmm. If he's pitching the way he's pitching right now, I mean, I would go to him with a blank check and be like, "All right, you fill it out, son."
Well, their revenue should be pretty good too, because they're selling tickets right now. Like
absolutely. Crazy. And here's the thing, though. They will pay. They will pay contracts, and they've kind of been skeptical over the last couple of years because a lot of their big contracts hasn't worked out. But he's a homer, a homegrown
there's a new
talent.
sheriff in town running things now.
And I agree with that. And I tell you what, this is not on the list, but since we're talking about players from Detroit, I'm going to give, if we were talking about it, I would give the comeback player of the year so far this year to Javier Baez. He went from playing 80 games last year through 272 at-bats, batting 184, and only hitting about, I think he hit 6 home runs. Of course, he hasn't really been much of a home run guy since 2021 and 2022. However, he really struggled at the plate. He looked awful at the plate. But this year, through 67 games, and that is 225 at-bats, he is batting 289 with 9 home runs, 52 RBIs, And I mean, he's just looking so much better this year, and I've got to hand it to him. I mean, it looks to he's back. If that
Right. Right. No, I get it.
because he went through a tough spell for a couple of years where he went from batting 265 and 21. That's pretty solid to 238 and 22 to 222 and 23 to 184 last year. So everybody was like, is he even going to be a Detroit Tiger at all? Is he ever going to make any kind of a comeback? And lo and behold, this year he makes his ultimate comeback, and through 67 games, he has done phenomenal and has had phenomenal success through those 67 games at batting 289 and on base percentage at 329. It says a lot about a player when you can raise your batting average over 100%, and then also your on base percentage over 100% as well.
Right.
And I really I'm showing a lot of respect for him for that, and I'm really excited to see what happens with him, and excited to see about where that Detroit Tigers go. Hopefully, if the Astros play them this year, the Astros will beat them this year, even though they did beat them last year. But if they're playing anybody but the Astros, I hope they win.
If Detroit stay, and I don't know the status of how, I guess they're pretty healthy still. They've held up pretty decent. As long as they stay healthy, I'm telling you, teams better take that serious when they play them.
100%, I completely agree.
Because they'll ruin your dreams real fast.
No, they will for sure. They're top notch. And moving to the National League Cy Young Award, can you guess who I would think it would be?
I can see, but go ahead.
Well, I can tell you, and I think, and it's no doubt, and I think he will end up getting the Cy Young Award at the end of the season. But none other than Paul Skenes. Through 16 starts, it's a travesty to see him at 4-6. Mm-hmm. But we talked about this last week on the podcast, mm-hmm. that I don't really look at the wins and losses, because some of these guys don't get any run support. He's got a 1.85 ERA through 102 innings, only given up 5 home runs, 21 earned runs, 106 strikeouts, and he's only walked 27 batters.
Well, we talked about this the other day, and I'm not going to rehatch it all, but not only they sometimes don't get run support, but sometimes the guys that come in there, 8th inning guys or whatever, just squander it all away for them, and they don't get they get a no decision, don't they?
So right.
It don't really help them any.
So through his 16 starts, he has 12 quality starts. We just said this. The 6 innings, 3 runs or less is considered a quality start. So you think about that. So out of those 12 quality starts, he's only got wins in 4 of them. So what does that tell you about that team and that bullpen? It is a travesty, and I'll be honest with you. If I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, I am pissed about this.
Yeah, I agree.
I am utterly mad about this because this guy here is throwing his heart out every 5 days, but he's sitting at 4-6 with 12 quality starts, but only has decisions and wins in 4 of them.
Well, and I don't know what's he got. We talked a little bit about it. What's his contract, just roughly? What's he got?
He's got like 3 years left on the contract, and I don't think he'll be a trade piece that they're looking to trade at the deadline. I think if they can get through this year, maybe next year, but I would say by next offseason, this would be a guy that would probably be a trade piece.
You take his family, his agent, everybody's probably saying, hey, you need to get out of there. That's not where you need to be. You need to
Oh,
be where you
absolutely.
can have a chance of winning, have some support, and just not be, don't give him the Walter Payton way where you work him to death and never get, I just hate to see that for a player like that. It's really, it seems to me like that could almost break their spirit.
I completely agree with that. Moving on to the AL Rookie of the Year is none other than athletics player I've got is Jacob Wilson. Through 75 games, he has 295 at bats. He is batting 353 with only 20 strikeouts. He's got 40 RBIs, 9 home runs, and an on base percentage of 394. I give him the Rookie of the Year. I do not think, he will get MVP votes, but I do not think he will get MVP just because, it's Aaron Judge and the writers love Aaron Judge.
Right. He's the kind of the household name, isn't he?
Yes. Even though, I think that there will be some votes for Jacob Wilson to get some MVP votes, but he's not going to get MVP. So moving to the National League Rookie of the Year. Good luck with me trying to say his name. If you want to try to say it for me,
Is it Miss Roski?
I'm guessing. I think so.
How do they pronounce when you've heard it? Does it sound anything like that?
I think so. I know this is a very small sample size.
Mizorowski. Maybe it's Mizorowski.
Yes.
Polish name, isn't it?
Yes. I know. I understand this is a very super small sample size for to be Rookie of the Year midway through the season. However, with the way that this Brewers team is going and the way that they need starts and they need pitching, we're going to give it to him because, yes, he's only had 2 starts, but through 11 innings, he has an ERA of 164, 1.64. He's only given up 1 home run, but through those 11 starts, he's got 11 strikeouts. So through those 11 innings, I think I said 11 starts, but through 11 innings, he's got 11 strikeouts. So, it's not accurate, but through average, he's averaging a strikeout an inning.
I just don't think that he's got enough there. 11 innings is not enough, I don't think. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's what they'll say, that he's – the numbers are fantastic, but it's.
Well, also, I'm looking for him to continue to stay up this year and really put a big jolt into the Brew Crew.
To me, I look at like a quarterback. Halfway through the season, he's played 8 games, or we got 8 games, but in the belt, but he's only played 2 games. And talking about his numbers, that's one thing to talk about him, but I don't think you can. He's went deep enough into yet. That's the way I would look at it.
Right, I get that. Real interesting fact here. He is from Blue Springs, Missouri.
That's out by Kansas City, isn't it?
Just right outside of Kansas City. So, interesting fact.
Yeah.
Interesting fact about us. So, I remember weird things. So, quick story about Blue Springs. We ate at a little Waffle House just right outside of Blue Springs one time on our way back from Colorado.
We did. I don't really remember that. You have a memory, though, out of this.
I remember weird things like that because I remember looking up. It was just right off I-70 because I remember looking up and there was a big billboard that said I-70 Blue Springs.
Too bad you can't figure out how a way to make that memory work with studying for a test.
Oh, I know it. If I could do that, I would be like Albert Einstein or Galileo.
I've heard other people say that. I remember stuff that's really irrelevant to life when it comes to taking a test. I'd be a genius, like you said.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now That's what's crazy about me. That's what's crazy about it. Um, he did go to Crowder College. Interesting. So
I've been
moving
there.
on. You've been to Crowder College?
I've been there. Went there for a training session for about a week. Went down the one in Southwest Missouri.
Crowder Junior College, yeah.
It's about the size of Greenville High School.
Really?
Well, that's a little bigger than that, but it's nothing like Three Rivers. It's a little college.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's a little college. I spent like 4 days there.
I thought Three Rivers was small when I went there.
Yeah, it's smaller than Three Rivers. I spent like 3 days there.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
It's a long way out there, too. It's a long way out there to Crowder. Long way.
Yeah.
Way on the other side of Springfield, on the other side of Republic.
Oh, it's that far out there?
Yeah, it's way out there. And the last several miles going there, it's about like a highway, about like 34.
Oh, really? That bad?
Yeah, it's a long ways out there. It's a long way. But I spent 3 or 4 long days there.
All right, so we're kind of getting sidetracked here. Sorry.
So you learned something about me tonight you didn't know.
So sorry to get sidetracked about that. However, Dad's going to tell us who the AL MVP or AL Manager of the Year award will go to if the season ended today.
Well, I think
he's going to tell you why he thinks that, because he is a huge fan of this guy, and I'm a huge fan of this guy too. Don't get me wrong, but he's going to tell you all the reasons he thinks he is the Manager of the Year.
First off, I think he should be the MLB Manager of the Year.
Well, there is no MLB Manager of the Year. They split it up.
I know that, but I'm just saying if there could be, it should be. No, I just think the guy's impressive. In my opinion, he's the best manager in baseball. AJ Hinch. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
AJ Hinch. You got to say his name, man.
Okay, Detroit Lions manager, Detroit Tigers.
Detroit Lions.
Detroit Tigers manager AJ Hinch, who was formerly won the World Series with the Houston Astros, did big things with them. Everybody knows there was a little problem there, and since he was the manager, he kind of took the hit on it. Had to leave baseball for a year, but anyway, came back, is in Detroit, and just doing a spectacular job there. I mean, I think he's the best manager in baseball right now. And the thing about Hinch is is he even 50 years old?
He's close. He's
not much over.
No.
I mean, what I'm trying to say, he's got a lot of career left.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Dusty Baker was, in his 70s when he finally retired.
So was Tony La Russa. So this guy's got another 20 years.
Oh, absolutely.
To manage.
AJ Hinch is 51.
Okay, well, he's got another 20 plus years to manage. There's no question. And, in professional sports, when a coach, and I'm using the word coach loosely, manager, coach, can go to 2 professional franchises and be successful. Now, in football, we've seen that happen. We've not seen them win the Super Bowl, but we've seen coaches, for example, Bill Parcells, Andy Reid. There's some others I'm missing, I'm sure, that's had great success. Maybe didn't win a Super Bowl, but had success in 2 different franchises. And that says a lot about them. It's kind of an elite club, and I think AJ Hinch is right there. And I think AJ Hinch will see how many managers have won 2 World Series. Tony La Russa.
Tony La Russa has won 2 with 2 different teams.
Yeah, but who's at least won for 2? One.
That's what I'm saying. Franchise. Tony La Russa has won 2 with 2 different teams.
Or somebody else, I think, that has 2.
I'm trying to think. I know there's more than that.
Not a lot, though. I think it's less than 3 or less.
Yeah.
What about was manager in Yankees for a long time? He was at St. Louis for a while. Joe Torre. I don't
think
he won anywhere but
there. I don't think because he didn't win in St. Louis.
He wasn't in St. Louis long enough to really win, but he.
No, because the Yankees snatched him up really quick. Of course, that was probably the best decision because that led to Tony La Russa coming to and creating a 20-year structure.
Tommy Lasorda was never nowhere. He never won anywhere except L.A. Right?
No.
There's somebody else that had. We'll talk about that another time or whatever. But anyway, just getting back to. I don't want to get off subject here, and I'm bad about that. But AJ Hinch is a spectacular. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a spectacular manager, and I think so much of him that I hope they. Hey, it wouldn't bother me a bit if they crossed the finish line this year.
Bruce Bochy is another one.
Okay, is that the only two?
Bruce Bochy is one.
Tony
La Russa, and Sparky Anderson.
Okay, so there's been three. That's a pretty big deal in 100+ years.
Mm-hmm.
So
now those are guys that have won in both leagues. I don't think there's been any. I think those are the only three that's even won with two teams. Because looking at it, because I mean they haven't mentioned anybody else's names.
Well, I think that don't be surprised if AJ Hinch doesn't join that little elite crew right there at some point. And
you're right.
And I think that again, there's so much in professional sports that can happen. I mean, injuries, different things, but I think this team, if they can keep it together and stay healthy, they're going to go on a hard run.
All right, so Bucky Harris won with the Senators in 1924 and the Yankees in 1947. Bill McKinney won with the Pirates in 1925 and the Cincinnati Reds in 1940. Sparky Anderson won with the Reds in 1975 and 76 and with the Tigers in 1984. Tony La Russa won with the Oakland Athletics in 1989 and the St. Louis Cardinals in 2006 and 2011. And Bruce Bochy, the most recent to do this, won with the San Francisco Giants 2010, 12, and 2014, and with the Texas Rangers in 2023.
No, that's pretty impressive. Like I said, at 51 years old, I think that at some point AJ Hinch will join that elite crew, that small elite crew.
That is definitely elite crew, too.
Very elite crew. I mean, very elite crew. And and I don't want to get off subject, but I think that I've said this before. I think the St. Louis Cardinals was very fortunate to have Tony La Russa for as long as they did, because we won the World Series 2 different years, but we had winning baseball, competitive winning baseball with him every year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
and he made your buddy up there look like $1 million.
Shoot.
Mozeliak.
Oh, Johnny Mozeliak.
And he did. I mean, if he would have had a career with Tony La Russa, he'd have went down looking like a hero.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've said that before. So, moving on to the National League side, I'm going to have to give it to Carlos Mendoza. Even though that the Mets organization has kind of struggled of late, in their last 10 games, they are 1-9, and they have lost the last 3 games. Overall, they have had a great season. They are 46-34. They have lost out first place by a game and a half. However, there's been a lot of turmoil go on with the whole Juan Soto distractions on him not hustling and him not playing at 100% like everybody thinks he should. And I think personally, Carlos Mendoza has handled it well, so I'm going to give him the Manager of the Year for the National League.
Are they the bad play they went on for the last week and a half or so? Are they got some? Have they been injured? Or they got some bad injuries? Or you?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't really looked into it a whole lot. I've just kind of been.
Don't you think after a while exhaustion starts getting teams?
Oh, for sure. I think
this heat's bound to be taken out of some of them too.
Well, Mania is on his way back. It looks like Frankie Montas is come back. So here's the latest on the Mets injuries. Sean Mania is still hurt. Jesse Winker is still hurt. Mark Vientos is still hurt. Kodai Senga is hurt. He got hurt the 13th of June. Jose Siri is still hurt. Max Kranix is hurt. He's been hurt since the 19th of June. Tyler Miguel is hurt. He's a big bullpen guy. He's been hurt since the 17th. He underwent a MRI that revealed no structural damage but significant inflammation around his tendons and ligaments. Will rest for about 7 to 10 days, then restart a throwing once symptom free. So there's another pitcher that has been problematic for him. And they have some other ones that's been out for a while that hasn't really had a whole lot of impact on that. But it seems like now that they have had a couple of injuries through the month of June, that is kind of hurt them a little bit. Acuna has been optioned back down to AAA. He has not batted. He has not played in the best baseball like everybody thought he would through a small sample size in 2024. In 2024, he batted over 314 games through 39 plate appearances. And through his last 30 games before being optioned to AAA, through 45 at bats, he batted 156. So it's a lot of team. This team is just A, slumping, and B, just kind of the injury bug has kind of hit them a little bit, maybe a little bit at the wrong time. So this kind of leads into our next section, and we'll talk about the other teams, but I think the number one on here, after seeing all that, I think the number one on the list here is going to be the Mets when it comes to talking about buyers and sellers. I think you might see the Mets as being a buyer.
Probably they'll fill in some gaps or some holes that they've got.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I'll start saying you don't surely think they're going to be a seller.
No, I don't think they're definitely not going to be a seller. But
it's a good team overall.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think that, they're a game and a half out of first place, and they have lost 3 straight, and they went 1-9 in their last 10. So it's not like they're completely out of things. So I don't think it's it's not completely over for them by any means.
Getting one player back could be enough to get them turned around to get them
right. And once this is we consider this the dog days of summer. So this is,
It was August.
What?
I thought the dog days of summer was August.
Well, yeah, we're getting there. Anyway, so we're getting there to that part of the season, and then once we get down the stretch, bullpen is going to play a big part. So if they don't have a healthy bullpen, that's where you're gonna see things start to struggle.
Right, having depth.
Absolutely. Other teams I could see to start to buy are the New York Yankees. The Yankees, I think, could go out and get some more pitching. We've been talking about it for months now, that pitching depth is important for long-term runs. Look at the Dodgers when they went on those runs in 17, 18, 2020, and even last year in 2024. They had good pitching depth. I think that the Dodgers are going to look to increase their pitching depth. They've had some injury. They've had injury bug hit them. It's not been so much recent as been earlier in the year, but I think as we move closer to the dog days of summer and down the stretch, that you're going to see them, that they're going to want more of that pitching depth. The Giants, the same thing. They're going to want that pitching depth, but I also think they're going to want to look to pick up another bat. I think, they did go out and get Rafael Devers last week. I don't think that that's going to be their only move. I think that they will at least go out and try to get one more bat before that July 31st deadline. With the Phillies, I think that they'll try to at least go out and get another starting pitcher. I don't think that they've got some good bullpen depth. Don't get me wrong. Their bullpen, they could add to their bullpen. I could see them going out and getting another starter, possibly a bullpen arm, and I don't see them going out and getting another bat, but I don't know that for certain. The Brewers, I could see them going and getting another bat, possibly some bullpen help. The Cardinals, the same thing as the Brewers. I could see them definitely going out and getting some bullpen help. Probably more than anything is a starter. If you could get a starting pitcher and possibly some bullpen help, that would go a long way. Same thing with the Reds. The Reds are a great ball club. I think that they're lacking some pitching. The offense looks like it's there. I think that just the late inning pitching is where they're struggling.
How long has your manager been there now? How long?
What, 6 months?
Yes, and he's already got them. I mean, it's pretty good. Francona is another one that I have high regards for. He should have been in St. Louis.
Absolutely, and he could be the manager of the year in the National League too, and
yes,
that's a strong possibility too.
Well, that's a guy that was retiring, remember, and then decided to come back.
Yeah, I mean, coaching, managing, that's in your blood, and you never get away from it till the day you die.
Now look at Tony La Russa. He came back when he was way up in the 70s, wasn't he, or near 80?
Well, did you see where Alabama's got Saint Nick out talking to players again?
No.
Yeah.
Recruiting?
Yeah.
He'll be coaching again.
He was he had a picture with a recruit in Alabama gear.
Really?
Yeah.
I still believe that Saint Nick will take an NFL team at some point.
I don't think he'll take an NFL team. I think he'll take another college team.
Could be. I don't know.
And I don't even think it'll be I don't even think it'll be a D1 college.
Yeah.
I think he loves coaching that much. I think it'll be like a D2 college or something down in Florida or some warm weather state.
Yeah, that's possible. So I don't think he'll go north.
Anyway, back to baseball. We get sidetracked a little bit.
That's okay, though.
Anyway, so moving on to some potential buyers or a potential buyer. This is my wild card. So this is my wild card buyer.
Let me say this. Isn't the Dodgers and the Yankees always buyers?
Not always. The Yankees were sellers a couple of years ago.
It seems like they're always ready to sign somebody, even when they don't need them. If there's somebody available, they're going to go after them.
Well, it depends on. I mean, when they're good, they're willing to buy, obviously, but of course, it's probably been close to 10 years now. But they were sellers at one point.
That Dodgers team's got some depth.
Yeah, but I mean they've had some injuries. I think you'll see them go out and get some more depth,
right?
And I think you'll see them kind of trade some of their older relievers that they've got and get some younger
that organization,
guys.
I know you don't like them, but they've run it. They've been ran well for the last several years.
Oh yeah, when you got deep pockets, it's easy to run an organization well.
They spending $300 million a year plus.
Oh, plus almost $400 million.
It's crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
So this is my wild card buyer, and so I've also got it on the wild card buyers or wild card seller list. Is the Arizona Diamondbacks, because what they do from now until about this time next month is what I believe what will determine what they do leading up until the days of the deadline. Because if they go on a tear and are still very close to making a potential postseason run, I think that they will be buyers and they will buy and they will try to go in and they will try to upgrade their roster as best as they can. However, if they totally fall apart in the next month, this time next month, and they are, say, under 500 in possibly 7 to 8 games out of a wild card spot, and they don't have any potential movement that they think that they could even remotely make a playoff push, I think that they will be sellers. And I think that teams will be on the phone with them constantly, day in and day out, from about July 15th to July 31st, because I think at the very last moment, you will get a notification on your phone that says the Diamondbacks have announced that they are going to make player A, player B, and player C available for trades if they end up falling apart. If they don't end up falling apart, I would see them being a dark horse team to go out and make a huge splash in a big blockbuster trade at the last hour of the deadline, right before that 5 p.m. Eastern time deadline.
Another good point there, but another one you haven't mentioned, and I'm surprised that I would think would be buyers, the Padres.
Okay.
Wouldn't you think they would
I
be?
don't think they have enough prospect depth to be buyers. As much money as they have, I don't think they have enough of the of they might be able to do something, but I don't think that they might make a trade, but I don't think you can actually label them as a buyer if they go out and make one little bitty trade.
They got the money, don't they?
Oh, they have the money, but I don't think they have the prospects.
Right. I got you. Well, get what you're saying.
Because they gave up a large haul in 21 to get Juan Soto. And however, they did get a large haul for Juan Soto when they traded him to New York, but a lot of those guys are in the majors.
I've always had I don't know why, kind of a soft spot for the Padres. I've always kind of liked them and always wanted, they've one of those teams that's never been a team that's a gutter team, but they've always been that team kind of in the middle of the road that just can't seem to
Right.
to get over the finish line, to get up there and
I respect them. I've never had any ill will towards them.
But they're in the mix a lot more than they were 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. They've been in the mix pretty much every year since the pandemic.
But anyway, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
All right, so moving on. So, like I said, the Diamondbacks could be that wild card team. Could be buyers, could be sellers. But the prominent sellers, I think, will be the Marlins, the Orioles, the Rockies, and the Pirates. I think especially with the Marlins seem to be sellers every year. I think that you might see that finally Sandy Alcantara might be traded this year at the deadline. We've been waiting for his to be traded probably for 2 years now between deadline and off season. I think this time around he is going to be traded this time around. I think it's probably the best option for him to go ahead and be traded now. And you know, and like I said, I would pay attention to, I can make predictions later on, but a dark horse team to go get him in a last hour move would be the Diamondbacks. And I know it sounds crazy, but I think that's a possibility. The Orioles, I think, will trade anybody that's got an expiring contract because that is a sad, disappointing season for them. They were expected to win the division. They completely fell apart. And they're pretty much, I think, in last place now, and they have nothing there holding them back. So anybody that has any kind of expiring contract, like a Cedric Mullins, like a Zach Eflin, those kind of guys, I think will be shipped out at the deadline.
They'd even trade the guy that works on the yard, then wouldn't they?
Yes, and I think you could get a large haul of prospects, young guys, to replenish the farm, to replenish the field, and just get ready for next year, and just go ahead and throw in the towel because you've already lost, probably nearly 45 to 60 games at this point. Come deadline time. The Rockies are a terrible team. I think anybody that's got any kind of value, like a Jake Bird, is going to be traded out. If anybody has any kind of value come a month from now, they will be traded out. Same thing with the Pirates, except for Paul Skenes. I do not think Paul Skenes will be traded out. unless a last hour attempt somebody comes to them like a New York Yankees, a New York a San Francisco Giants, a Los Angeles Dodgers with this unbelievable package for Paul Skenes. I do not see him being traded, but like a Dennis Santana, anybody with an expiring contract that could be any use for another team with any kind of like maybe a Reds organization who needs a little bit of depth for middle infield or just some pitching depth might go and make a quick trade with their division rival, the Pirates. Highly unlikely, but possibly with the Mets or the Phillies or other teams like that. But I do not see them trading Paul Skenes, and those are probably going to be my main sellers. And I'm not saying there is going to be other teams that will make trades at the deadline, and because I didn't list them as a buyer or a seller, doesn't mean that they're not going to make a trade at the deadline. I think that the Chicago Cubs might make a trade, but I don't know if I can truly label them as a buyer right now, because I just don't know if they're. I mean, they're going to go all in, but I don't know how all in they're going to go.
They're not afraid to spend money, are they?
No, not at all. Same thing with my Houston Astros. We don't have the depth in the farm, and our general manager has said multiple times he's not going to mortgage the farm to get better for 2 months. So
that getting better for 2 months though could be enough to put you across your friends on and we'll give them a little love, but your friends on Sports Talk 790 out of Houston, correct? Listen to them. They would like to see another starter brought in, and they would also, said what was it they said? As long as you're giving gifts, they would also like to see another bullpen brought in.
And I completely agree with that. And moving forward, if something like that was to come up for any team, especially any local teams, I know we are a southeast Missouri based team. A lot of Cardinal fans here. I'm going to try to keep up with all of that come trade deadline season. Keep up with that for all you Cardinal fans, and try to keep up in all the inciting information on any Cardinal trades there. I think the biggest thing is to try to upgrade their pitching. Their pitching has not really been the best. Their offense seems to be there. Just their pitching doesn't always seem to be there. And if you have a Miles Michaelis trying to lead your pitching staff behind a Sonny Gray, I think you could probably go ahead and try to add another pitcher. Maybe a Zach Eflin out of Baltimore. Maybe, it would be a long shot to try to get a Dennis Santana for the bullpen right out of your division rival. However, maybe a Jake Bird out of Colorado could come over to St. Louis and help you guys out. Those are just a few of those option names. But as we move forward and get closer to the deadline, we'll talk more about that. But we'll go ahead and give up the standings.
Before you get into the standings, I just want to pull up something, get your or just mention something. This is not just a normal heat wave. This thing's running from Texas to the East Coast and from Michigan to the Northeast. Don't that have some effect on teams at some point? Wouldn't you have to say?
Oh, absolutely. Like I was watching a game over the weekend, and one player threw up behind shortstop.
Right. I mean, it's not just say, hey, it's hot in Atlanta and Memphis and Nashville this week. It's hot everywhere. New York City,
it's hot everywhere.
It's hot everywhere. So it's every team that's playing from West Texas to the East is, and I don't know, LA usually gets hot too,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's going on everywhere. So, I mean, it's not just a Midwest thing or anything. So, talking about the standings, so in the American League East, The New York Yankees are in first place at 45-34. They, however, have lost 2 games in a row, or have lost 7 out of their last 10. In second place, right behind them by a game, this is really getting interesting. The Tampa Bay Rays are 44-34, or 35 rather. I'm sorry about that. 1 game out. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games. Toronto Blue Jays are 42-36, 2.5 games out. And at 500, in fourth place is the Boston Red Sox at 40-40. And in last place in the AL East is the Baltimore Orioles at 34-45. So that's another thing for baseball fans is keep an eye on that Orioles team and keep an eye on any news. There could be some big trades out of Baltimore with that team being 34-45. Especially for any of the wild card teams. They could get some players out of there, like possibly a St. Louis Cardinals could get some trades from Baltimore there. Moving on to the American League Central, the Detroit Tigers are 50-30. This is probably the best team in baseball. It's led by AJ Hinch. We talked a little bit about previously that AJ Hinch, being the manager in Detroit, has really come alive and really done well for them. He is one of the only 2 teams in that division that is over 500, and he is winning that division by 9.5 games. And in second place is Cleveland Guardians and 39-38. And in third place is the Kansas City Royals at 38-41. Fourth place is the Minnesota Twins at 37-42. The Chicago White Sox are in last place at 25-55, which is kind of sad if you think about it. The White Sox have a couple of good years and then go bad for about 15 years, it seems like. So moving on to the American League West is my Houston Astros at 46-38, or 33 here. And they've won 7 out of their last 10 games. They've won their last 2 games. And in second place is by 4.5 games is the Seattle Mariners at 41-37. Third place is the Texas Rangers at 31-41, 7.5 games out. The Los Angeles Angels is 38-40. And in last place is just the Athletics. They don't have a team name or a team home anymore. They are just playing for the Athletics. And real quick, I saw this for some news from the Athletics. They have broke ground in Las Vegas, and they will be moving to Las Vegas in a couple of years. We don't know exactly when they will be moving, but they will be moving out there in a couple of years. So interesting to see when all that will go down.
I thought they had a date.
Their stadium hasn't even started being built. They just broke their ground here.
Why is it been a problem getting the money together, or what's?
I guess I don't know.
It kind of the long term is good. It just kind of puts the team in limbo, though, don't it?
Yeah, they're playing in Sacramento right now.
Well, you said it was a pretty nice stadium that they're in, though, isn't it?
Yeah, see, it seems like it. So moving on to the National League. The National League East is got a new first place home. Is the Philadelphia Phillies is at 47-32 in first place. Second place is the New York Mets at 46-34, and they're only back by a game and a half. Behind them is the Atlanta Braves. They are trying to come alive. They are 37-41 and 9.5 games out. They are 7-3 over their last 10. And I think I didn't label them as a seller or a buyer because I don't. I think that they're probably going to end up staying quiet at this point because at 37-41, they're going to try to do all they can do without more. I mean, trying to go out and do a whole lot, but they may end up being buyers after all. I mean, in 2021, they were a terrible team, and they ended up turning it around. And in fourth place is the Washington Nationals at 33-46, and in last place is the Miami Marlins at 31-45. Going to the National League Central, the Chicago Cubs are 46-33. The Milwaukee Brewers are 44-36, with the Cardinals right behind them, the same exact record at 44-36. And in, I guess, maybe third place, fourth place, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, is the Cincinnati Reds at 42-38, 4.5 games out of first place. And back at the back is the Pittsburgh Pirates at 32-49, 15 games out.
You know, we've talked a little bit about the West being competitive. That Central is getting kind of competitive
That
too.
Central is getting really competitive.
Because I mean, even like the Reds are hot.
Yes. No, it's going to be an interesting time. Come September. So the National League West, in first place is the Dodgers at 48-31. Second place is the San Francisco Giants at 44-34. Third place is the San Diego Padres at 42-36. The Arizona Diamondbacks is at 41-38. And the Colorado Rockies is at 18-60.
Golly, that is competitive. Though even the fourth place team is 6 games above 500.
Absolutely. And I want to look here with the wild card standings real quick. So the current wild card standings.
This is for the NL.
This is AL. So AL, and first place is the Tampa Bay Rays at 44-35. They're 2 up and 2.5 games up. The Toronto Blue Jays is right up behind them, a game up at 42-36. And then holding that last wild card spot is the Seattle Mariners at 41-37.
Who's an honorable mention there that would be in fourth? If there was a fourth one, who would be next?
The Cleveland Guardians at 39-38.
So somebody, Seattle could mess that up. They could just step up there pretty easy, couldn't they?
Yes. Now this NL is
pretty wild, ain't it?
Oh my goodness, this is crazy. So right now, I don't even know how to gauge this because I would have to go to head-to-heads. Because right now, if the season was to end, New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants would hold the first 2 wild cards. However, the third wild card would get kind of dicey because Milwaukee and St. Louis are both tied at 44-36. We don't do game 170 or 163s anymore. So we would have to look at head-to-head records, and I don't have head-to-head records right here in front of me. So whoever would win their head-to-head record would have that third wild card. Whatever it be Milwaukee or would it be St. Louis? And then even at that, your San Diego Padres would be looking out.
Cincinnati
would be looking out.
And Padres, Cincinnati.
Arizona would be looking out. Of course, I mean, they're looking out by quite a distance,
There's
but
a fourth one
the
too.
The Braves would be looking out too.
So you're talking with somebody like St. Louis, just to say if it was them, all they'd have to do is stumble a couple steps, and there's somebody going to take their place on the ride.
Well, I mean, you look here at these standings. The Padres are a game out. The Reds are 2 games out. The Diamondbacks are 2.5 games out. So you look at it this way: the Giants show up to Arizona for a 3-game set. Okay. The Reds show up to the New York Mets for a 3-game set. Padres show up to I don't know, Cardinals or the Brewers for a 3-game set, and say the Brewers show up for the Cubs for a 3-game set. We get a couple sweeps in there from those lower teams. You're looking at a completely different standing list.
I was just thinking, isn't there 8 teams that's all going to, some of them closer, but still it's on a competitive run for one position, one spot. Because it's pretty much the Mets and at this point, and the Giants have got them two covered.
If you want to include the Atlanta Braves, which are 6 games out, you can say 8. But if you want to include anybody that is under 3 games out from a wild card position, then 7 teams.
Right. Well, you got
the Mets, the Mets, Giants, Brewers, Cardinals, Padres, Reds, and Diamondbacks.
You say Brewers?
Yes. So currently, the Mets, Giants, Brewers, and Cardinals are currently in the wild card. But like I said, I would have to do some checking and head-to-heads for the Brewers and Cardinals because they have the same record. But you got the Padres, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks who are just right there.
See, that's why I would think, you probably don't agree with me, but I would think if you were an owner of one of them teams, you would think, hey, let's bring somebody in here before the deadline to help us kind of push over a little bit farther. You would have to think that Arizona and the Padres and any of those teams, the Reds or whatever, would be thinking we need to bring in somebody else to fill in a hole and get us. We're so close,
right? And I mean, usually trades, a lot of trades, big trades aren't made in June. The Rafael Devers trade that was made last week. I mean, for the Giants. I mean, it's not. I don't know.
Most of them's made that last week, aren't they?
Right. It's made at the last hour.
Right.
But I'm just. It's crazy how close we are. And
have you ever saw it this close before? This is going to could be somewhat of a dramatic end. Very interesting.
Oh yeah, but I mean, what is really a travesty, and I mean, in a way, I'm okay with it, and in a way, I don't, is that there's no more game 163s.
Mm-hmm.
Because could you imagine
the tiebreakers?
The tiebreaker day? That would be so fun.
I wonder, you think there's any chance they'd ever bring it back?
No, because it's just easier to do.
That went on for years. Tiebreaker. I remember. Almost every year there was a tiebreaker game. Seemed like, maybe not every year, but
I think the last tiebreaker was in 2018. I could be wrong.
Wouldn't you say there was a tiebreaker game at least every other year back in the day?
Now you'd have to probably go way back because
maybe not. Maybe
because the last tiebreaker I remember before 2018 was 2008.
So maybe every 10 years, but still, I bet you there'd be multiple ones this year.
Oh, I think so, because like if the season ended today, I mean, the Brewers and the Cardinals would have a tiebreaker for sure, and I mean, there's not really none looking in the AL, but I mean, you're so close on so many levels everywhere that I mean, it could easily just happen in a blink of an eye. And I know we keep going on about this, guys, but it's amazing. If you're not watching baseball, you really need to be watching baseball. It's gonna be a fun summer to watch baseball. Get out, watch it on TV, listen to it. I mean, it's awesome.
Better yet, get out to the ballpark.
Get out to the ballpark, yes. So, moving on here, we are going to go ahead and we're going to talk a little bit about some NFL stuff. Dad, I'm going to have you lead on this.
All right. Well, I guess we're getting ready for training camp here before long. Um, it's getting that time of the year. Let me try to get my itinerary back in order here. It jumped on me. But anyway, it says which teams start early. What are the biggest position battles to watch? We're talking a little bit about rookies turning heads. What do you talking a little bit about rookies turning heads? Who you got your eye on? Anybody that you're watching, or because we don't really have any good quarterbacks to really. I mean, that was a weak quarterback draft.
I mean, it was a weak quarterback class. I will say that.
I mean, usually sometimes you got a Heisman Trophy or a guy that was almost a Heisman Trophy or somebody that you're
Right.
thinking, this guy is he going to be the next big thing or is he going to flop like we've seen him do?
Right.
But there's nothing that really stands out to me on any of that right now.
Right. There was one in particular guy. I cannot remember the feller's name. But I was gonna kind of watch for him. I don't remember his name. But no, I'm looking forward to this football season.
A lot of defensive players were picked. Hopefully some guys can beef up their defenses and stuff. I really, it's. I'm not just talking about them because I'm a fan, but I think you're going to see the New England Patriots are going to win more than 4 football games this year. I'm not going to say they're anywhere near a playoff team or even a 500 team. I think my guess is they'll win. I think they'll win 7 games this year. That's what I'm thinking. If they win 6-7 games, to me, that's a win.
So the biggest player I'm interested to look for, just because he went to Mizzou, is our man Membu. He is an offensive tackle. He went to the Jets, first round, 7th pick, and another offensive tackle is Will Campbell. He went to New England. He's out of LSU, and then I'm kind of interested to see what the Tennessee Titans do with their first round overall pick. What they do with Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami.
That's who they chose.
Yes.
I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of the quarterbacks didn't, but this may be the year when you really have some guys that really put it together. Seem like sometimes when they're not got that Heisman hanging over their head, or they're not from Alabama where they had a big season hanging over their head. Sometimes they're the guys that stand out.
And I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of football people, and I mean, I know this is a bad thing to say because he's a fabulous coach, but name the amount of Alabama superstars, or let's narrow it down even more. Alabama quarterbacks that went on to be superstars.
Yeah, that's the thing of it. I mean, we thought Mac Jones was going to be, and he wasn't.
I mean, I don't know. I guess he just makes everybody look good down there because.
Well, there's so much depth on the whole team. There's so much that they have the time to run, to pass. They got the time, and to little different than regular pocket passing, but they got the time. Then the running game is usually always set up for them too. They got the run game complements the pass.
Absolutely.
And the pass can complement the run game. Really, you don't ever hear it worded that way, but it can. But that offensive line, all your life you've heard me talk about, when it comes to offense, that's the heart of the team, is that offensive line.
100%. I fully agree with that.
You've got to build that team. You need a quarterback, and then build an offensive line around him, and then you can get a quarterback. You can get a running game if you got that solid offensive line with a little depth. Because you need some depth on that. Because if you just got 5 good guys and the rest of them are. You got to have those guys, a couple of those guys that can come in, that comes in and out. So if you can get that depth, you can find your running back.
Oh, 100%.
But It's so important. It's so important.
Absolutely.
And that's the one thing about Alabama. I mean, St. Nick was a heck of a coach. I mean, he knew all that. So, I mean, that's the way he designed his teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was built that way. So,
Right.
so you're right. They've been disappointing in the NFL, but it's a culture shock for them when they go from there to the NFL.
Absolutely. I get that. So now, how do you feel about stars skipping mini camps?
I think they should be fined.
Do you?
Absolutely. They're making too much money. They should be there early anytime the door's open for the money they're making. Even the ones that's not got the big contracts, they're still making good money. Very good money. What's the minimum salary now?
Oh, I don't even
between
know.
$500,000 and $1 million, ain't it? Something like that.
I probably.
So I mean,
I think the last time I looked, it was like 750, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it may be more than that. I want to say it was 850, but whatever. That's a lot of money. Anytime that door's open, you should expect to be there for that kind of money. With that kind of money, somebody can have some say about your life a little bit for that kind of money.
I mean, in a way, here's my thing. If I don't show up to work,
you're gonna get fired.
I'm gonna get fired.
Yeah.
Because I sign a contract, being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I have to fulfill that contract.
Right.
If I sign a contract with a sports team, shouldn't, and if it stated that I need to be there, shouldn't I have to attend those mini camps?
You should have to attend every meeting, everything. I mean, for that kind of money, for the money they're paying you, you shouldn't have. The only way, sickness is one thing. If you have a wife having a baby, or if there's a death in the family, or your mother or father's deathly ill, or you got COVID, something like whatever. I understand that those things happen, but just because you don't want to be there because you like Brett Favre because you didn't like training camp, that's, excuse my language, that's bullshit. That's not right.
And he didn't show up for regular training camp.
Over most of the years, he wouldn't get there till halfway through.
Oh, dude,
I just don't care much for training camp. He'd say, I don't really. It's kind of the same thing every year.
Oh my gosh, you learn something new every day. I never knew that, but good grief, like you need to be there as much as possible because I mean, let me ask you this: how many Super Bowls did he win?
One.
He may have won a lot more than one if he showed up.
Yeah, I think they should be there. I don't think no. I think they're told by their agents to not show up if they're in a contract dispute. I think that's kind of told with their agent. I think. I guess that's
okay, but like for example, you're general manager. Okay, hypothetically, you sign me to a big 6-year contract. Okay, I'm coming in just like a what's your buddy that signed that big contract down in Atlanta? Oh, I can't think of that quarterback's name.
Oh, Cousins.
Cousins. Okay, I signed the contract like Kirk Cousins, so I'm coming in here fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I come to the first round, and then I come do everything you want me to the 1st year. Then the next year I don't do anything. Are you gonna be pissed at me?
Yeah, absolutely, very much so. You're a disappointment. You're a big disappointment when you don't do that. I mean, it shows you the commitment. Where's the commitment?
And how's it going to make you feel when you see a rookie who you just drafted show up for everything,
right,
plus be there for every little training camp piece, be there for every pre and post game thing you do for every preseason game? I mean, yeah, I'm good, but don't you almost want you to give that rookie some reps?
There's a reason why guys like Joe Montana and Tom Brady won all those Super Bowls. Dedication.
Absolutely.
Hard work.
100%.
Watching tape constantly. They're there all the time. They're for the young guys, for the rookies, they're there all the time. There's a reason that those guys. Tom Brady just didn't win 6 Super Bowls or 7, whatever it was, just because he looked good in the uniform, or because he was confident in his job. It's because he worked hard.
I mean, not only working hard, I think it also goes back to the team trust and everything.
Right.
Because if you don't have that team trust, he's not even going to show up for training camp, then he don't really care about this, so
Right.
it's not really that important. So if he don't think it's that important, I'm not really going to think it's that important.
And I won't be talking out of school here, but you take guys like started out in Denver and he went to Chicago as a quarterback. What was his name? Under Lovey, when Lovey was up there.
Started out. I don't know.
They called him Smoking Joe. Not Joe. I can't remember his name, but he was always one to me that never. He was very talented. He could have been very good, but he just always seemed to me like he didn't have the commitment. You didn't see that commitment from him, and it just always guys like him disappointed me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of his name.
It was pre Jay Cutler, wasn't it?
Jay Cutler. That's who it was. Jay Cutler.
Was it Jay Cutler?
Yeah. Jay Cutler. And they just
that's right. Smoking Jay.
That was always somebody, and he didn't do it, but somebody was making fun of him, and they put him, photoshopped him out there every time with a cigarette in his mouth.
Well, I mean, you're talking about quarterbacks that don't have that energy or have that success of that drive. Look at Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, that's a shame there.
Johnny Manziel had all the talent in the world. I will go down. That is going to be the first quarterback I tell my grandkids about is Johnny Manziel because, good grief, he had the world by his hand.
I think he regrets all that now, don't he?
He has to. Because, good grief, he had it all. All he had to do is just show up.
But you take players through the years, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, those guys, Troy Aikman, those guys were successful because they worked hard and they were committed. They weren't committed 80%, they were committed 100% all the time. So, missing meetings and training camps and all that stuff, I just think it's wrong. I just think it's wrong. But anyway, we'll move on from there.
So now to the power rankings. So now we've kind of seen what the draft has done. We've kind of had the OTAs and everything go on. So which team do you think has maybe improved the most this offseason?
Boy, that's always a shooting off the hip, and I don't know how much power rankings are ever correct. But again, I think that I hate to keep on, but I think New England is one that probably has improved quite a bit.
I can definitely agree. I think between New England and Washington.
Yeah.
I think those are my two. The NFC and AFC, I think, would be my pick for the AFC being New England and NFC being Washington.
You want to think that Tennessee's did something. I mean, where they were at,
they've still got some holes.
Right.
I don't think that they're going to be.
I have heard that
huge.
That they said that the Saints had a good draft. I heard that people thought they had a good draft.
Right.
I don't know. I think Seattle had a decent draft. I heard that.
How did Vegas do? Because
I don't know. I have not heard.
I'm really interested in see how Vegas does this year,
and I hope they do well.
Yeah,
but I'm telling you, another team. I think you better look out. I think you're going to see a very strong Denver team.
I mean, they were pretty strong last year.
Everybody thought last year they were, and look what they ended up doing, turning it around. Sean is a fine coach. He's a good coach,
right?
And it's. I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I don't know what they did on the draft either, but it's going to be interesting to see what. I don't know that much will change in Dallas. Maybe a little. They may win double-digit wins.
So McCarthy's still there, right?
No, it's
No, that's right. They they mutually parted ways, didn't
No,
they?
I'm trying to think of who. You have to look it up. It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh my gosh, getting too late. I can't remember. As soon as you say his name, I'm gonna.
Anyway, kind of talk a little bit about what you think what do you think what's wrong with what is wrong with Dallas?
Jerry Jones.
Oh, it's a big long name. Strottenheimer.
Yeah, Marty Schottenheimer. It's Marty Schottenheimer's son.
Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah, it's Marty's son. Marty Schottenheimer was a good head coach. I think he'll be okay, but the problem of it is they need to. They've not only not had a coach since Bill Parcells, Jimmy Jones and Bill Parcells, that had the balls to stand up and tell Jerry, get the F back. We're trying to win. We're trying to play football. Get out of our hair. And that's a lot of it. Jerry Jones don't need to be doing the draft. He needs to have help in there. They may be, because I don't know much about Brian, but Marty was a good coach. I think Marty will.
This is going to be his first head coaching job.
Yeah, so I think he could have some success. I think they'll win more games than they did last. They were just on a really down year last year too. Mm-hmm. I could see them winning. I could see them winning 10 or 11 games this year. I don't know how much. I don't know if they'll win. I don't know if they'll win a playoff game or not, but I could see them going somewhere like that. I think Detroit's going to be a solid team too, as long as they don't come back with hangover. I call that some teams that are really strong one year sometimes will come back with a little hangover.
You think Detroit will have hangover?
I don't think so, because
is that what you just said?
Mm-hmm. Because they were so strong last year, sometimes you see that happen.
I don't see that, because I think they're hungry because they lost,
and they got a coach that is a top-notch coach that's going to keep pushing them. So I think they'll do good. But as far as NFC teams that I see being on a competitive run, definitely Philadelphia.
And before you go on, and I'm going to mention this to you before you mention your teams, and we've argued about this for months now, but I still think the Commanders will be right up where they were last year. They were 12-5 last year. I mean, you can't tell me that they are not going to have a good season this year. I mean, you can't tell me that Dan Quinn had one good season, it was going to be a fluke.
Well, you said that to me the other day, and I got to think about it. I mean, really, I don't know why I thought that, but there's no reason for him not to. But, the really strong teams, I think, in the NFC, in my opinion, will be the Rams. I think they're going to be really strong. And I think that Philadelphia will be really strong. And I think Detroit will be really strong. To me, those are the three powerhouses. And the teams underneath that I think will be good teams. I think Washington will.
Well, you have three there.
And I think the Niners will come back.
Well, okay.
To a degree.
Who do you think will be the the four division winners?
Detroit.
Detroit and Philadelphia for sure. You probably think.
Yeah. The Rams. And
that South is always confusing to me because
it is. Probably Atlanta.
I'm thinking the Bucks. I mean,
maybe, yeah.
The Bucks. I don't think the Bucks are going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't know. I think there's a good chance of that. I mean, Carolina's going to maybe win 3 games, 4 or 5 games, maybe.
Maybe one.
What the Saints are going to do. Yeah, maybe one. I think it'll be between Tampa and Atlanta. Atlanta's a talented team. They should. Mm-hmm. If they can put it together, they should have a good season.
Yes.
But, I think, to me, that will be the ones. But I think, other teams underneath that, besides the division winners, I think Washington, I think the 49ers, and you're going to laugh when I say this, but I think the Giants.
You're missing a very important team there. Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, you're right.
I think Minnesota is going to come back with some vengeance because they're going to be pissed because they lost to that Rams team. Of course, I still think, and you laughed at me when this happened, but I think it just took you a little while to realize what I was meaning. Is when the Rams beat them down in Arizona. I think they beat them. It was mainly because of all the fires,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that they had something to play for.
Yes, they were playing hard.
And I think that
we see that happen a lot.
And I don't think you realize what I meant by that. But then
the more I thought about it, it made more sense.
Right.
And here's the thing. I'll say this: don't rule out the possibility that Detroit's to your wild card team, and Minnesota wins the division.
Oh, I'm not doubting that whatsoever.
Because as much as I think Detroit is going to be a good team, I think Minnesota is too.
And I tell you what,
all it would take is a game or two difference.
And I tell you what, I'm not doubting. You're going to laugh at me. I tell you, a thorn is going to be in their side is going to be Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago has improved.
Yeah.
And they're going to be a thorn in everybody's side this year.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be a 11 or a 12 game winner, but they're going to be a thorn.
And don't rule out Green Bay. I think
they were a wild card last year.
And I think they've probably got better. I mean, they got a fine quarterback.
See how many wild cards they've got? Three
in each conference.
I mean, they could easily get a wild card.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's going to be pretty competitive.
It's going to be a fun football season.
Yeah, I think the AFC is probably a little more decisive. You'd be probably a little more decisive.
I think you can easily. It's easier to predict the AFC than it is the NFC.
This year. It's not always, but I think this year is a little more decisive on that.
Because the East, I think Buffalo has the East taken care of.
Yes.
Let's go to the South. I think it's going to be a toss up between the Texans and the Colts.
Yeah.
That's going to probably be it's going to be a tight race.
Mm-hmm.
The North, I think, it's going to be Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we've had this. We've kind of argued about this, and you thought it might have been Pittsburgh, but I don't see Pittsburgh winning that division.
No, but I think Pittsburgh could be definitely a wild card.
I think they could be a wild card for sure, but I don't see them knocking off Baltimore.
No, I don't know. I don't know how many people can knock off Baltimore right now. I mean, they could have easily been Super Bowl winners.
Absolutely.
So,
and then see who we got left. The West.
Yeah.
Obviously, the West is probably going to be my least favorite team, Kansas City.
Yeah, I think they'll win their division.
However, the wild cards are going to be kind of interesting. Because,
but I think there's not as many going to be as competitive as in the NFC.
Because I think
Denver will be a wild card.
I think the definite wild cards will be probably Miami, Denver, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think it's a little easier to kind of predict.
And then potentially I say a potentially Miami because you'll have the Colts or the Texans.
Right.
I think one of those two teams will be a wild card, and then Miami will probably be fighting with either Pittsburgh or Denver for that last wild card.
This time last year, I would have said Jacksonville because they'd had a good season. Remember that before that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't say this year, but probably next year they'll probably be back to relevancy.
But you don't want to forget Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati I still got the material.
I think they're going to be a Chicago team. They're going to be a thorn in everybody's side, but they're not going to make the playoffs.
It depends. I don't know. I wouldn't rule them out.
They're going to win 9. They're going to go. Cincinnati's going to go 9-8.
I think they'll either go 9 or 8, or they'll win about 12 games. Either way, one or the other.
I could go either way.
Right.
But I'm making a bold prediction. They'll go 9-8.
Okay, we'll see if that happens.
A bold prediction, 9-8.
We'll have to make we'll have to do some picks early in the season, see where we're at.
For sure.
But anyway, we need to move on here. Again, are we ready for the talk about the WWE? About wrestling?
Yeah, I guess we can move on to that.
Well, some of the stuff here we might be a little more interesting to move to next week.
Yeah. We can move.
I think it is some good. You've got some good stuff there that we do need to talk about. But as long as we've been here, we probably
it's kind of getting long here. So we'll move on here.
Okay, won't you pick up wrestling, Mr. Wrestling here?
So
Are you Mr. Wrestling 3? There was Mr. Wrestling 1 and Mr. Wrestling 2. Are you Mr. Wrestling 3? They were wrestlers, by the way.
right. So here is the card for the Night of Champions in Reid on Saturday in Saudi Arabia. This is in no order because I don't know the exact order. I assume this is the order. I just pulled it off the page and I don't know. Anyway, the first is Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes in the King of the Ring tournament final. The winner is crowned the King of the Ring and receives a match for their respective brands world championship at SummerSlam. So that would, if Cody Rhodes would win that means him and John Cena. If John Cena retains the championship that night, would face Cody at SummerSlam. And the next one is Asuka versus Jade Cargill, the Queen of the Ring tournament final. The winner is crowned Queen of the Ring and receives a match for their respective brands world championship at SummerSlam. And moving on to the third one here is John Cena versus CM Punk. It is a singles match for the undisputed WWE Championship. And number 4 is Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa for the match for the WWE United States Championship. And Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez in a street fight. Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. And that is it for the Night of Champions in Reid, Saudi Arabia.
So SmackDown was supposed to be there too.
SmackDown is there on Friday night, and then Night of Champions is there on Saturday, and then I guess they all fly out sometime between Saturday night and Sunday.
I think we ought to throw a shout out to the folks that are in Qatar. They got stuck there. I mean, prayers be with them, and
absolutely,
get moved on to Saudi. And I don't know, that may have happened today. I don't know.
Without getting too political, I want to just mention that we hope everything works out for the WWE over the weekend and nothing bad happens to them. Like I said, we do not want to be political on here. This is completely politics free.
That's not what we're about.
We're not about politics on here, but I just wanted to mention with everything going on in the Middle East that we just hope that all of the WWE talent is safe and gets to Reid, Saudi Arabia, and back home to the United States safely.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Is they're there. They're somewhat of a risk, I guess. Anytime you're in that part of the country right now with what's going on, so I think we ought to keep them in our prayers. And they're there to try to entertain us. So that's what they do. They're not there to fight a war. They're there to entertain us. And so I think that, we need to remember those guys in our prayers, and hopefully they'll get back, not having any trouble, and can have a couple good shows over there and get back to the States.
Absolutely, 100%. So I wanted to kind of do some kind of a quick fantasy booking type thing. Real quick of what I'm kind of looking at for the future and how I think this is all going to go out. Like I said, this is all just me. But I think for the women's side that Jade Cargill could possibly win the Queen of the Ring. And if she does that, she would get a match. And then I believe she would. Is she on Raw or SmackDown?
She's Raw, ain't she?
Is she Raw?
I think she's Raw.
So if she is Raw, then she would automatically get a championship match with you Raw Women's Championship champion. And who is the Raw Women's Champion right now? Do you remember? I'm drawing a blank.
I'm drawing a blank too. No, she's on. Jade Cargill's on SmackDown.
Okay, so if it's on SmackDown, it would be Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah. Tiffany time.
Yes, so Tiffany Stratton. So if she gets a match with Tiffany, then if she was to win, then Naomi potentially could cash in on Jade as soon as she gets her title. I think all this could potentially happen at SummerSlam.
I think Jade Cargill is going to get a belt.
And Naomi could possibly leave SummerSlam with a belt.
That's true.
I know this is just a lot, but I thought this was just was thinking about this earlier. I was talking to some of my wrestling friends, and this just kind of what I was just kind of thinking about.
Well, what if here's the way I would see it more going. Tiffany hang on to the title and maybe lose the match by disqualification or something like that, and then Naomi comes out there and cashes in and beats her, and then that sets up between Cargill and Naomi, wouldn't it? No, they're different faces. Or they're the same face, ain't they?
Yeah. Real quick, the women's championship is on Raw is Io Sky.
Yeah. We knew that.
Yes, we knew that. I drew a complete blank.
It's getting late.
Yes. However, well, I just thought of that scenario just because Naomi and Jade have their history.
Right.
And I think at some point then that would set up a potential triple threat with Bianca.
I just feel like that they'll try to stretch the Cargill and Naomi match on out a little ways instead of just doing it right then. I could be wrong.
That's possible. I mean, it took Tiffany a long time to actually cash in. So I mean,
right.
It's not always a guarantee that they're going to cash in. No, SummerSlam or
they
anything.
got a year, don't they?
Yeah.
And Naomi was hungry. She tried the other day, and now if she could have, that'd have been a good time for her too.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Nia Jax didn't want that.
No.
She ripped her out of there.
She's a bully, ain't she?
Oh yeah, she ripped her out of there like nobody's business.
She getting ready to get it? She gonna get ready to get repackaged or something? Is another name? I thought I heard him say that.
Oh, is she?
I could have read that wrong. I'm not sure.
Nia?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard that. I don't know.
She's a strong lady though. Her and Cargill are probably the strongest ones in women, aren't they?
Oh, I think so. That's kind of just my fantasy booking of the day. So this other stuff here that I've got wrote down, we're just gonna postpone it until next week because we're already getting quite a bit of time in here. So I want to thank you guys for listening.
We want to talk a little bit about AEW.
I mean,
briefly, just to hit on a couple things.
Yeah, we can here. We got All In coming up. We had AEW their first Grand Slam outside of the United States a couple last week, was it? Or it was last week.
They have a stadium show coming up in the States, don't they? Only their first stadium show in the States.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know when it is. I heard them say that. They had one in London, and did really well. But I thought they were one that they was going to try to run in the States. I don't remember when and where it was at, but I probably shouldn't even be talking about that with not knowing more. But I think we need to get in a little deeper with AEW next week and talk about some things.
Right. For me personally, it's just so hard to watch AEW when I'm not really used to watching it.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, I hate watching SmackDown because I hate all the commercials.
Yeah.
I watch Raw live because I don't have any commercials. I mean, I know that's kind of selfish of me, but that's
Well,
that's
a
just the
couple weeks ago when we watched Dynamite, I thought it was a pretty good pretty good card that night. Really.
it was so long, and they didn't know how to sell. It was embarrassing to
Yeah.
watch some
Yeah.
at some points.
If they could have somebody in there like a Jim Cornette or a Dutch Mantel or somebody in there that could teach them, though, hey, hey, you got to sell and this and that. They got the talent. There's the talent there. There's enough talent there, but they need to have some guidance, I guess. But anyway, I think we'll try to get in on that a little deeper next week.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everybody have a wonderful night, wonderful evening, wonderful day, whatever time you may be listening to this podcast. We appreciate you guys joining in to another edition to the Backyard Sports Talk. We will be back with you for another week edition next week, and we hope you guys have a safe week. And remember to tune in once again next week.
I realize we got a little long-winded with baseball, but there's a lot going on right now in MLB, and it definitely is worthy of being talked about. So anyway, God bless everybody. God bless the world right now with everything going on, and we will see you again this time next week. See you later.